Good morning or afternoon, everyone. My name is Jared Tarter, and on the phone with me, we also have John Welch. And today we're going to talk about XProtect Access and kind of just briefly overview what it is, briefly talk about some of the different partners that we have, and then John is going to jump in and spend most of the time actually showing more or less a demo of the software, some of the various aspects of it, both on the management side and the user experience side as well. So, what is XProtect Access? It's basically an add-on product to our VMS that allows basically creates a framework for access control partners to easily integrate into our software and to give the users the same experience from the smart client side, regardless of which access control system is driving it. So it's a different way of doing an integration. Historically, a lot of times integrations are done pulling video from the Milestone software into the access control client. This is doing the reverse, so it's pulling all the events and such from the access control system into the Milestone smart client. And it doesn't matter what access control system is being used, the experience in the smart client is the same. And so just a quick view here. This is not an exhaustive list at all, but these are about a dozen or so of the integrations that exist right now. And again, this is definitely not exhaustive. There are more out there. I believe last time I heard there was around 25 or so integrations into the XProtect Access framework. But these are some of the ones that I could think of off the top of my head when I was putting this together. So Linnell, S2, RS2, Honeywell, Isonis, Paxton, Open Options, and some others in there as well. And this list is growing all the time. Most of these integrations are done by the access control company. Some of them are done by Milestone. But the benefit, again, is regardless of how it's done, the experience to the user is the same. Some of them on the management side might provide more options, more events, or something like that, and that's largely dependent on the access control system. But it gives the user experience the same, even to the point if you had a system that was tied into two access control systems. Maybe you have regional configuration and you have multiple access control systems. They could all be tied in, and the user sitting with the smart client wouldn't know the difference. It would all look the same to them. They wouldn't know that on the back end you might have a Paxton system and a Linnell system or something like that. The experience to them is the same regardless. So from here, we're going to jump into a demo that John is going to run here, kind of showing again a little bit on the management side and also some on the smart client side, just to give an overview of how things look.
Thanks, Jared. So before we get into the smart client, I just want to kind of briefly discuss what Jared kind of pointed out. So again, those multiple access control systems, when added to our framework, obviously there is going to be some differences in some of the advanced like events and things, or differences between the access control platforms that you're bringing into the system. But once you configure those in the management client, so for example, door alarms, door force, door held, those kind of things that are common between access control platforms, the operator experience, like Jared alluded to, is pretty much the same. There are some different configurations, and I kind of just want to briefly go over that with you guys this morning. Basically, what is accessible, or what you can bring into the framework here. If you think about like Linnell or ProWatch or some of the other open options, the enterprise type access control systems, and right now I guess Linnell is kind of on my mind, but there's literally 100 or more events that you can generate and bring those into the smart client as events or alarms. So anyway, if you look at this screen, in the navigation pane in the management client, if you're familiar with the advanced products like Corporate Expert in our Plus products, this should look familiar. But down here towards the bottom of the navigation window, you see access control. So it is part of our framework. So it's going to be there when you spin up a system. And then if you have XPA integration, then you can add that into the system. So it looks a little bit different between the access control platforms on how that is accomplished. But anyway, you basically put the address of the access control system, port, credentials to access the system, and then it pulls the configuration. And then once that configuration is pulled, it shows you what doors are available, and then you have to license it. The cool thing about the system is it'll pull the cardholder data. So you can see I just have 3 users on my system, and it gives you the picture, the card ID, and depending on the how in depth the integration is, there's some other information that might show up in this area. So before we get in the smart client, we're going to see some different aspects and events coming into the smart client, but how do you create those events? How do those come into the smart client? So again, with the plus products and advanced products, it is a rules-based application. So let me just show you an example of some of the rules that I created. So for example, a door alarm. So that could be a door forced, door held, or something similar to that. So what do you want that event to do within the application? So this particular rule, I just wanted to do a built-in access notification. And what that is that pop-up. So I want anytime a door alarm happens on my access control system, I want it to pop up in a side window, and you'll see that in just a second. And then an access request, kind of same thing. So on an access denied, I want to pop up to come on the operator's workstation. And a door held, I want it to populate a smart wall monitor. So there's some automation that you can build in when you have the XPA integration. So you can have some proactive video pop up when you have an alarm or an event. So that's kind of how easy it is. I mean, it is pretty simple to associate events in our rules engine. So let's get into the smart client real quick. Okay. So basically what I did here is I have a static map. I plotted a couple doors, and I can kind of show you real quick how easy that is. So if I go into setup, actually, these are my access control doors. If you're familiar with the smart client, you'll get a toolbar of the items that are that you can actually plot on the map. So here is the access control door. So if you have a map of floors, if you have a map of the campus, you can start plotting the doors and their locations that they're supposed to be. And what that does, it gives you the ability to have visual insight on the status of that door. So right now, this particular door is locked and closed. So if I actually do access granted here, I believe that's the exterior door, you'll see that it turns green and the door opens, so you can visually see the status of that door. And then if you notice, I have a hot zone on this particular, this is the Moda Center here in Portland. But if I click into that, because you see that's an alarm, so visually the operator can see that there's something going on in the submap here. So if I click on that, I can see that the team room door is an alarm. And that was from I think a door forced event or access denied event. So if I can actually right click on that, I can acknowledge the alarm from here. And some other things you can do if you're associating doors on maps is you can open it from the map. So I can unlock it. And depending on the access control, how they integrated to us, there could be some different modes here. So, you can do access, like temporary access. You can change some different aspects of the door itself. And then, again, the cool thing about bringing access control into Smart Client is you're associating the cardholder data with the video, right? So as people are accessing the door or presenting their cards to the reader, you're getting a visual of who's at the door. So that person just swiped, but that's not really Andrew. So we can see that somebody borrowed Andrew's card, things like that. So you can get a better insight on if the person that is accessing the door is really who they are. And another thing you can do is you can click where they access the door. That puts it into instant playback, so you can take advantage of the features of Milestone here in the smart client. So here you can see that's not Lars, that's somebody else. So it looks like Lars lended out his card to somebody. And then a cool thing here is there is an access control tab. So with any add-on to our system or plugin, if you're familiar with the smart client, adds tabs up here. So you can actually click right from the live view, this button here, and that takes you to the access control tab. And here you can actually see every time Lars presented his card to the access control system, if it cooperates with me. Oh, let me see here. Last hour. Smart client. There it goes. Okay. Just had to give it some time. Of course, that happens on a demo. So I search here. I could do John, and that's every time I had access granted or access denied. And if you click on the event here, it brings up the associated video, and you see there's a bookmark available. So again, going back to the rules, how do you want the events to interact with our rules engine? So on access denied, I wanted it to bookmark on the timeline. Okay. And then again, when you have access control monitoring going on, you still have the same capabilities, as you can double click, full screen the video. You have all these tools or options available within the toolbar, so I can do a smart search. So here I'm just taking advantage of all the features that are within the smart client, and that's really what gives you a powerful integration, is utilizing the feature sets of the smart client with access control events. So I just want to show you real quick the pop-up notification, because this is something that we get requested a lot of. So if I do like a access denied on the team room, I'll get a pop-up to the side here. And the cool thing about this is if I have the smart client minimized, and let's say I have that PowerPoint, so I'm an operator, I have them working on something else, I get a door or access denied event, and that'll pop up over the application that is the primary application that the operator is interacting with. So the smart client doesn't have to be maximized to get those notifications. So you can have other events. So the cool thing with one bit plus of having the XPA integration is you can also tie other events into this pop-up window. So I just created some user-defined events, and if I activate that, you see that it comes here. That's a door held or simulated door held with a user-defined event. I don't know if I did the panic. Yep. So there's my panic. So again, other events outside the access control system can actually generate this notification window. So that's kind of what I wanted to cover today. It was obviously kind of an overview of the capabilities of the access control integration into the smart client. Jared, are we supposed to open it up for questions, or? Yep. So we can open it up for questions.
Yeah, if you have questions, you can type. There's a questions pane, and you can go ahead and type your questions in there, and then we can answer them from there.
All right. So we got some coming in. Jared, do you want to take those, or?
Yeah. What type of view has the access information on the left or on the right? Oh, so what we're looking at now with what John has currently on screen, or even now the top two, it's a plugin. So if you go into setup mode, and then in the system overview here on the left, you'll see there's an access monitor plugin right there. So that's what you drag over and then you choose what door you want to be in there, and then it automatically pulls in the camera that you've associated with that door on the management side, and it automatically starts showing all the card holders scrolling through and such.
Yeah, and when you create that view, you can also define which events you want to come into the system too.
Yeah.
So you just hit OK and go to setup, and there we are.
Is there a publicly available tool for partners to demonstrate access without a physical access control system? I don't know the answer to that, Josh. I know we have a tool that we use internally. I just don't know if it's publicly available. We will have to check on that to see. Are there any other questions? All right. Well, if you do have any other questions, feel free to reach out to any of us on the pre-sales team or to your local CBM or ICM, and any of us will be able to answer your questions. I hope everyone has a great day and a great weekend, and I'm sure we'll talk to you all later.